price is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for July 2nd, 2025. Well, yesterday turned out to be a lot wilder than I would have expected. The market seemingly reacting very, very positive to the big, beautiful bill, so-called, moving through the Senate, and my goodness, what a move. And then we saw this massive rotation happening as there was a deleveraging from tech, and it was flying into industrials and defensive sector stocks. Quite amazing move yesterday as the Dow just surged to the upside. It's if there's a concerted effort now we got new record highs in the SPY and QQQ. Now roll out of that and let's get the diamonds at new record highs. So they're really pushing here and continuing to push a bit this morning. Let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, if we take a look at Asian markets struggled a little bit and were mostly lower, reacting to some of the Fed's latest comments. If we take a look, the Nikkei fell 223 points, or just over 0.5%. South Korea was down about 14.5 points, just short of 0.5% lower. India fell 88 points, down 0.35%. Shanghai was lower by just $2.95, or 0.09%. We had Australian markets up 56 points, or 0.66%, and Hong Kong had the best of it last night, up 149 points, or 0.62%. If we take a look at European markets here this morning, they are bullish across the board, recovering from a couple of days of selling. If we take a look, the DAX right now is up 79 points, or 0.33%. We've got the FTSE coming in up 22 points, 0.25%. And the CAC is up 81 points, or 1.06% this morning. U.S. futures, a little bit more on the modest side than we've seen here for a while. But we're still looking at a gap up this morning. Right now, Dow futures are pointing to a gap up of 82 points. S&P 500 futures trying to gap up $6.75, and NASDAQ futures at the moment pretty flat, only about 50 cents to the upside here this morning. So kind of an interesting thing going on. We're still seemingly piling into more of industrials and defensive sector stocks as that rotation seems to be continuing. Let's take a look at our bonds here this morning. Now, bonds are just slightly higher here this morning. 2-year bonds coming in at 3.78%. 10-year bonds coming in at 4.28, and those 30-year bonds coming in at 4.81. And as a result of that, we're seeing the US dollar responding just a tiny bit higher. Kind of a bullish engulfing showing up here in the pre-market, trying to push that dollar higher. So keep an eye on our US dollar here, trying to get a little bit something going off of these recent lows. Right now, the dollar is up only 6 cents, however. If we take a look how that is creating action in precious metals, right now we have gold looking a little higher after gapping down early this morning. Gold coming in up $4.70 an ounce at this very moment. If we take a look at silver, silver is also higher this morning. We've got silver futures up just about 7 cents at 36.46 an ounce. Gold, by the way, is coming in at $3,355 an ounce. If we take a look at copper, COPX, a copper miner, moving up this morning, and we've got less than a penny to the upside in copper this morning. And taking a look at FCX, another copper miner, that is a very, very bullish chart trying to push to the upside. Taking a look at platinum and palladium, they are still bullish this morning with palladium up $38 an ounce, with palladium high up by $17.10 an ounce. Let's take a look at palladium here quickly. Nice little bullish pattern setting up there in palladium. So keep an eye on that for that next potential upside move. Last but not least, let's take a look at those crypto markets here this morning, and they are bouncing back in a big way. Bitcoin had a rough day yesterday, gapping lower and continuing to fall. This morning, it's reversing that back up. Right now, Bitcoin up $2,270 a coin here this morning, 2.15%. Ether is up this morning $38 a coin, which is 1.58%, and green across the board in those cryptos this morning. So what does that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Let's take a look at these index markets here. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks for being here. But let's take a quick look at these index markets, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be, and really be focused in on the details of that price action and try to shake off the bias. Now, I know it's really easy to have a major bullish bias right now with everything going on, but also we want to keep in mind just how stretched we are in some of these markets and the potential of a pullback at any time that could begin. Now, looking at the diamonds, you can see we're up 7 days straight in a row. Broke some resistance here yesterday, and if the bulls can continue to push to the upside, well, they're gapping up here this morning, the next resistance is right up here, and I'll pull that back. You can see we're coming up into this high point in here, resistance right in there as we head back up to all-time highs here in the diamonds, and there seems to be a concerted effort to get that done after they got the SPY and the QQQ underway. If, however, those bears were to push back here today, that possibility of pushing back into this little area of price support, that goes back right over into here, all that little price support right there. And if we were to push beyond that, well, you can see then that pushback could be pretty substantial here in the chart. And it really wouldn't hurt anything because we're so technically out of the box anyway. We're just powering into the markets, just diving in no matter what, pushing to the upside. So just be careful. We're a long ways away from those moving averages, and if a pullback would occur, it could be substantial. Now, if we take a look at our SPY had a little bit of rest in there yesterday, and that's about it, just a little bit of rest. Remember, blue sky highs here in the SPY. There is no upside resistance. So if the bulls decide to push today, well, sky's the limit. If the bears were to do anything here today, you can see we're kind of trying to rest right here on that area of support. If those bears were to really start to push, I would start looking for this little area right through here. Notice how I'm tying these three candles together, a little bit of support right in there, and then possibly right back down to that breakout here in the SPY. So keep an eye on that, and also remember this is still very elevated away from its moving averages. We've got the 50 coming back up through the 200, so we've got a nice little pop there. That's what they call the golden cross, pushing back up, so that's great. But any kind of rest or pullback would really help the market a lot in being able to reload on positions to the upside instead of just this wild stretch coming in. If we take a look at our QQQ is the most overextended market, but boy, last couple of days we started pulling that back here a little bit. I should say the last day we started pulling them back. You can see we've got just a little teeny tiny bit of selling here at this very moment, with NASDAQ futures right now down 12 points. Just getting a little bit more of a rest, but this has just been one of those really strong breakout moves, and I think folks are starting to think about valuations here a little bit. Little resting pullback in here doesn't really hurt this at all technically. Still very overbought, but if we were to pull back into this area of price support, that I think sets up the next opportunity for buyers to step in. Watching closely here, if the bulls were to step on through, see if we can break back through yesterday's resistance high and then back up there toward all-time highs. It certainly seems possible. And IWM had a good day yesterday as well. Again, the big beautiful bill. I hate calling it that, to be honest, but because it adds more debt that we just can't afford. But in that bill, we're seeing a lot of regulation cut and things like that, and I suspect IWM could have some real benefit out of that with regulation cut as these smaller companies really try hard to get things going in here, and anytime you can reduce regulation, it helps them produce better. So watch that carefully here. Breaking through some resistance levels yesterday. The next resistance level up, you can see we tested it and backed away from it yesterday, would be right up in there. And once we break through that area of the chart, well, I'm going to suggest maybe right up in here would be that next level up in the Russell. So keep an eye on that. Now, as far as stocks, technically breaking through that 200-day, boy, we haven't done that for quite a while. Breaking through that 200-day, a little rest or pullback to hold that 200-day would maybe set up that next opportunity. Be careful chasing markets to the upside right now with that fear of missing out, particularly individual stocks that are really stretched to the upside. Be careful of that. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX yesterday started up on that selling that came in and then quickly reversed back down. So we're still in this lower range here, trapped between these levels in here. This would be the next area of price support down on the VIX. And we're testing those resistance levels. If the bears were to have anything to say, then I would keep a close eye on this area up here for that potential push through a little bit of elevation on any kind of rest in the market. Now, if the bears, if the bulls have anything to say, breaking back down through this level here, coming right back down here to recent lows, and maybe even pushing on down in the chart. So watch that carefully. Now, if we take a look at our T20s, our T2122 indicator, as you can see, we're up here in the bearish reversal zone, and that's something we're going to want to be paying pretty close attention to, because as we stretch here in the pre-market this morning, if we get anything that gives hesitation to the market in the data points this morning, just keeping in mind we're going to be pretty much pinned up here near the ceiling on T2122. It's really showing us that extreme overbought area here of the market. Doesn't mean we can't keep going up, because remember, markets can remain irrational longer than you can fight it, trying to fight that direction. But at the same time, we should be watching carefully for the potential of a profit-taking wave that could come in at any time. Now, if we take a look at our T2108 percentage of stocks above the 40-day, surged strongly yesterday, breaking through this level up here around 60%. We're headed back up toward that 70% area here in T2108. Remember, T2108, anywhere between that 70 and 80% level here in T2108, we're in a very frothy zone, and we typically find a way to pull back from that. So watch that carefully as we continue to stretch. T2107 also had a great response yesterday. We had been struggling to break through this 40% area. Well, we got that done yesterday. Nice little stretch up. And I would say 45 up here would be that next level to the upside. If the bears were to have anything to say, we've created a nice little level of price support in there on that chart. And this trend continues to move to the upside and stretching away from that support area of that trend. So once again, this elevation that we're moving in this market gets a little bit tenuous. Then we take a look at T2101, and considering that we're in the blackout period here of the market, we had a big surge. First off, yesterday, the breadth was falling, and then as that big blue, beautiful bill made it through, we reversed this in a big way, pushing back up, seeing those bulls push in. Now, we'll have to keep an eye on that, because we've been struggling with breadth, and it is pretty common to struggle with breadth heading into the next round of earnings on the blackout period here on corporate buybacks. So keep a close eye on this. I do think we're in that situation where we could get that quick shift in direction, and remembering that we're heading into the holiday here, and that uncertainty of the holiday. A lot of the traders, a lot of the big floor prop firms and things like that are setting up automatic orders. They're not going to be there. They're going to be on the beach. So be careful. You may be trading with a computer over the next couple of days, particularly after we get through data points early in the morning. So let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, just a couple things to be paying attention to here this morning. We got motor vehicle sales here today. Motor vehicle sales, the consensus is looking for that to decline just slightly from 15.6 to 15.5. I don't think we'll get much of a market reaction out of that. We're going to get mortgage applications this morning, keeping in mind mortgage applications improved on the last number. Watch that closely here as those bond rates fall. Rates are falling in mortgages, and that might inspire more mortgage application activity coming into the market. We got the Challenger job cut report last time for reference. This is not a consensus number. Came in at 93,816. So watch for that today. Seeing any growth in there might raise a little bit of concern. If it happens to lighten up, the market's going to like it. ADP in here. ADP consensus is looking for a big change here on the private payrolls, up 103,000 versus the 37,000 last time. So that is a big improvement, showing that employment remains strong. So watch that carefully if it comes in anywhere close to that. We're going to get a petroleum status number, and then we've got a bond auction here in the afternoon to pay attention to. And then as we look forward into Thursday, remember, Thursday is an early shutdown day. Market will close at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And looking at that, we've got employment situation numbers, we've got international trading goods, we've got jobless claims, PMI, factory orders, ISM numbers coming in, as well as bond auctions. We've got Bostic in here speaking in a natural gas report, all culminating in the Baker Hughes rig count and the Fed balance sheet here at the end of the day. We're slamming everything into that Thursday morning. So just be prepared for some volatility around these big reports. And then after that, I would expect volume to just die. I mean, just really die as everyone starts getting away for the extended holiday. Let's take a look at our earnings reports today. And I got to tell you, our earnings reports, there really isn't anything notable here today. We have UNF reporting this morning. This little guy in here trades a very small volume, so that's why it really wouldn't be particularly notable. That is the only report this morning. And then if we look to the afternoon, there really is no notables this morning. Company Franklin Covey will be reporting, again, a very low volume stock. NTZ is reporting that's even lower volume, a real cheapy guy in here, and ZENV. Those are the only reports that are confirmed for the day, and none of them are particularly notable. So just kind of keep that in mind here for today. Not much inspiration there on those earnings. Let's take a peek at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time that you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and then also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, please do me that favor. Click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel about as much as anything else, and would really help support the channel. So thank you everyone who does do that. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you also consider, if you have an interest, we've got that special going on here, Right Way Options. So if you have an interest in that for a $7 trial, I've got the link just below the title of the video. You can jump on over there and take a look and see if we can be helpful to your trading at all. Sorry, that's a 2-day chart. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up today. Remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market. And remember that a pullback could start at any time. One of my rules is any time an index is up 5 to 7 days straight in a row, watch for a reversal, watch for a pullback, and at a minimum a consolidation. So be prepared for that possibility if that profit taking does start to pick up. Let's take a look. I mentioned Freeport here first thing this morning in those precious metals. Freeport miner looking very, very good in here. I would keep an eye on that. That's a beautiful bullish pattern trying to move on higher here. I would watch that. Take a look at like Newmont gold miner in here. That's also looking pretty good for that upside move. Take a look if you want a basket. You might want to keep an eye on GDX. It is trying to break back through this resistance up here, but some of those miners really starting to pick up as we're seeing that bullishness here in gold and silver kind of picking up. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at some other areas of the market. One of the things that was really notable yesterday is the move into more of the old boring defensive type stocks, big divvy payer stocks. Take a look at what happened here in Nike. Nike got a nice little push on following through after that earnings, looking good, breaking through resistance. I'd keep an eye on Nike. You might want to keep an eye on Target. Target had a big upside pop yesterday, pushing strongly in there. Any rest or pullback would set up an opportunity there in a target. Things like Macy's came up out of the bottom. Take a look at things like Mondelez. Mondelez had a big pop through resistance yesterday, as we're seeing some of these consumer defensive sector stocks really starting to pick up and turn around in this rotation here in the market. That might signal a little bit of concern here of a pullback. So watch that carefully as that pops on through. You could also take a look at other areas of the market like Coca-Cola and Old Defensive breaking through this downtrend here in the chart. Any rest or pullback now, I think, might set up that opportunity here in Coca-Cola. And PepsiCo, that's been hated for quite some time, just really started to surge here to the upside. So keep an eye on that. Other places, Ford reported much stronger sales than anyone was expecting, and you can see Ford big breakthrough resistance. We are pushing right up here to this next level of resistance, but you can see this morning we're trying to hold that bullishness here in the pre-market, so watch that carefully on Ford. General Motors followed suit with a big push to the upside. Once again, we've got resistance up here to be respectful of and paying attention to, but they're trying to push on through that without any worry or concern in the market. So keep an eye on some of those plays. If we take a look at some other retail out there, things like Lulu not doing very good at all. Just can't seem to catch any break, but we had a nice pop yesterday in Best Buy. Best Buy pushing up here, trying to deal with some resistance in the chart. I'd keep an eye on that. If that can hold this area up here, I'd look for that next opportunity to the upside. We saw some pretty good moves in the casinos. As you guys know, I've been mentioning Caesar's Palace as something to pay attention to in this possible upside or first higher low here in Caesar's Palace, or Caesar's Entertainment. But as you can see, nice bullish pattern there yesterday. That might push on through to the upside. Las Vegas Sands had a big pop here yesterday, pushing through this next level of resistance all at once in that big pickup. If we take a look at DraftKings, now DraftKings online gambling in here, just resting, but I would say if we're going to get going in those casinos, we might as well keep a close eye on DraftKings for that next opportunity to pop through. I'd just place an alert up here, wait and see when that might pop through to the upside. Looking really good there overall in that chart. Take a look at things like Hershey getting a big surge yesterday. Again, defensive sector, consumer staples, consumer discretionary had a great day yesterday, pushing up. They're the strong dividend payers. Keep an eye on those, trying to push through. Things like Philip Morris had a pretty rough day yesterday, but we saw things like Altria also pulling back in here. So there are some consumer defensives that aren't looking so good. As a matter of fact, I would say Mo is setting up here for a potential short, but there are a lot that really came to life yesterday in a strong way. Something like KHC really popping up here out of the bottom, showing that stretch, breaking that downtrend. So any rest or pullback sets up that opportunity there. Other places that you could look, boy, when we look at our financials are just tearing it up right now, just racing up here as we head toward those earnings here on our financials. Watch that closely. Things like PayPal breaking through some of this downtrend in here, some of this resistance in the chart. I'd be careful chasing, but any little rest or consolidation in here sets up that next higher low, and then I'd be watching there for PayPal. As you guys know, I've been talking a lot about XYZ here, and I do hold a small longer term position here on XYZ, so I've got a little bit of a bias on it. But watch that closely. We had this nice stretch into this resistance in the chart. Any rest or pullback in here might help and find another entry into that for that to stretch on higher. I picked up a position in Starbucks yesterday as well. Starbucks, a nice pop. Now I realize big resistance level here in Starbucks, but this is not a short-term swing trade for me. I picked this up as a longer-term position. Keep an eye on that. Starbucks getting some life, going to the upside here, worth paying attention to. Big changes yesterday. Home Depot started down first thing in the morning. Huge reversal there in Home Depot. Again, that consumer cyclical, consumer discretionary area. A lot of stocks making moves and reversing ugly moves yesterday. So I would keep an eye on those for that next upside opportunity. And then taking a look at Lowe's also. What a whopper of a reversal. Started down yesterday. Big reversal to the upside on that big beautiful bill. So watch that carefully here for today. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, by the way, I wanted to make sure and mention Texas Instruments. Texas Instruments, really nice looking chart there. Trying to push on through. Another nice dividend pair. This happens to be in the tech sector that just defied everything tech yesterday. Watch that carefully for that next upside opportunity. So y'all take care, be safe, have a wonderful day. As always, I wish you all the best. I'll see you right back here bright and early Thursday morning. Take care, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.